You're a 19-year-old pizza boy obsessed with the gym, who thought you could do gym stuff better. You spend your paycheck on a screen printer. Grandma teaches you to sew. You make some tanks, stringers, tees. You sell some. You make some more. You sell some more. 10 million more. Not bad for a pizza boy. Gymshark. We do gym.
Please welcome to the stage EMEA Managing Director, AI for Google Cloud, Alex Rutter.
Good morning everybody. Good morning, welcome to the first breakout session on day one of Google Next. Have we all had a good morning at the keynote? Energy's good? Looking for some participation, brilliant. So listen, in this session, we are going to try and bring to life the story about how through partnership, Gymshark, Deloitte and Google are transforming Gymshark as a global brand and retailer through digital and data-driven innovation. Now, as you saw from the video, every entrepreneurial business has a story, and of course, Gymshark is no different. Started back in 2012, CEO and co-founder Ben Francis, aged then just 19, operating from a garage with £2,000, a sewing machine, and a screen printer, set out to create Gymshark based on a very clear vision. And that was to create the tools that help everyone become their best self. Whether that's the clothes that you sweat in, the content you find inspirational, and the community that you can become your best in. Now, Gymshark have always been a pioneer. Technology has been part of their DNA since day one. For example, they use social media and brand activation to drive their overall marketing campaign, even before that was a thing. And now, valued at over $1 billion, Gymshark's use of technology has never been more crucial to their expansion plans, their growth objectives, whilst allowing them to seamlessly serve their 18 million customers around the world with 230 countries across four online stores. Now, continuing to innovate for a business so deeply dependent on technology takes a fantastic team of people and a special kind of relationship. Pressure to demonstrate and achieve ROI on projects has never been more acutely in focus right now, and usually on a per sprint basis. Now, sometimes true transformation takes a little bit longer than that. It's iterative. It requires deep understanding both of the business and of the industry, as well as some relationship magic sprinkled across the top, where you can have conversations that respectfully challenge the pursuit of new ideas. To bring this story to light even more, please let me introduce to the stage John Douglas, Chief Technology Officer at Gymshark, and Dan McMillan, Technology and Transformation Partner at Deloitte. Hey, John, thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Hey, good to see you.
Dan, how are you doing?
Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Gents, take a seat. Here we are. Welcome to Cloud Next.
Thank you very much.
Good. How are you both doing?
Good.
Good.
I see you didn't get the...
Oh, the dress code. Sorry, chaps.
Code,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry, that was a faux pas on my part this morning. Sorry. So look, gents, let's just get settled for a second. John, Chief Technology Officer at Gymshark, could you give us a little bit more color about you, how long you've been at the organization?
Yes, it's serendipity, really. I joined Gymshark about 3 years ago. I was working for Tory Burch as CTO, and I got locked down in London and never went back to New York, and somehow found my way to Gymshark.
Well, the worst places to be locked down than London, I assure you.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And Dan, just quickly, if you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do as Technology and Transformation Partner at Deloitte.
Yeah, sure. So I'm based out of London. I'm a partner in our consulting practice. I guess I spend most of my time with CIOs, CTOs, helping them figure out how to use technology and, more importantly, how to embed technology into an operation. So it's not just about the technical capability and skill. It's all about how to drive value, how to make people work in a different way, and how to change the culture of the organization as you do it. So I do that across retail. I do that across some large CPG clients, and I've been very fortunate to be on the Gymshark journey for about 2 years now, I think, since we first met.
Yep.
So yeah, really good.
Brilliant, thanks. Well, look, John, let's just try and bring the whole set to life. I'd love to know a little bit more. We saw a snippet of the culture of Gymshark in the video, but can you talk a little bit more about kind of what the ambition is for Gymshark, a little bit about the company for everyone else?
Yeah, it's an amazing company to be part of. Ben Francis, the founder, CEO, is an amazing guy, as you can imagine, 31 years old. His aspiration, his big aspiration for the company is to be a 100-year-old brand, which I think is fantastic in one so young to have that aspiration. He aspires, I'm using aspiration a lot, he aspires to be an iconic British brand in the mode of Burberry, Jaguar, Land Rover.
Fabulous. Well, he's certainly on a very, very aggressive journey to get there. Now, we're here to talk about kind of the transformation program that the three of us are on together, but primarily it's a Gymshark and Deloitte-led transformation. Now, John, in our prep for this, you described yourself as the most experienced person at Gymshark. When you look at that and you look across the leadership team, there are a certain set of cultures that therefore you inherit as part of that leadership structure. Traditionally, you were telling us that Gymshark have been a company with more of an in-housing strategy. What was different about this program, and why did you choose to go to a strategic partner like Deloitte to help you with your goals as part of this program?
I think when we spoke, Alex, I said I was the oldest person in the company. Probably by a long way.
I'm not allowed to say that, John, but over we go.
So, my boss is 31. The average age of the company employees 27, and our customers skew wildly across that domain. I think what I've brought to the company is in embarking on a big transformation program, big data transformation program. We just can't do this kind of stuff ourselves. We do have partners in the e-commerce space. Shopify are a big partner of ours, and I know a big
customer of ours.
GCP customer as well. I have partners in the engineering space, RE partners, who are here today somewhere. Delighted to have them along. And in this data transformation piece, we thought we needed to go with people who know what they're doing. We ended up with Deloitte and Google, but that was okay.
Well, that's nice of you to put it ended up with. I think one of the questions is always interesting. We've talked about the why you went for that partner, for the partner-led approach. One of the things that's more interesting, I think the audience will find interesting, is why, or why did you, sorry, we've done the why. What was the how, okay? So how did you go about selecting a partner specifically, and what did that process look like inside Gymshark?
So at my great age, I've done more RFPs than you could shake a large stick at. And I've got to be honest, the outcomes have been broadly average. I think at some point, you have to build your networks, your experience. I know I've known and liked the Deloitte retail practice for a long time. Used them at Tory Burch. We did the first SAP retail implementation on GCP at Tory Burch. So I know both partners pretty well, and I know some great people in those partnerships as well. I was going to call out Alison Webster at Google, because she couldn't be bothered to come and see me here. and John Amani, who's running our program back in Solihull, back in the UK. It's about, I think, about knowing great people and getting them together. Yeah. Okay.
So there you go. So RFPs aren't necessarily the way forward, actually.
I would say so.
Just find a good relationship and put trust in that. Dan, it's obviously always nice to hear why you've been successful from the client, but obviously Deloitte do a huge amount to differentiate themselves in the marketplace. What did you think made you stand out when it came to that relationship, and why you were picked as a transformation partner?
Well, of course, we love doing RFPs. So this was I think, our first starting point, when John and I first met, we'd not met when we first got together. The starting point actually was to figure out whether or not this was the right partnership. Because in order to go through a transformation, it is not about delivering to a fixed scope of work and going, I did my job. It's about creating two adults in the room who can move as the organization moves and can deal with the ups and downs of any large program of work. So the starting point really from our perspective is to really understand, can Deloitte help, yes or no? And you walk into an organization, it's a brilliant building in Birmingham you go into, and I feel very, very old when I walk in, and there's this buzz and this energy. And then you've got to realize that as you're going on a transformation, you need to take all them people with you. And some of them they don't want to be told how something should be. They sort of have to find out for their own. They have to make their own mistakes. And you have to put the stabilizers around them to make sure that if they do that, we can recover and we can continue to move forward. So I would say the first part of this journey for us was to figure out, is the partnership the right partnership?
Okay.
And actually, we did that. Really, it was a three-way event, wasn't it? It was, Alison Webster, Susie Ross from Google, predominantly myself, John, a partner called Jill Simpson, who looks after our marketing, and the whole Gymshark team, so Chris and Dan, who are down here, John, to figure out, do we get comfortable? And then can we get the organization comfortable that this partnership will be successful or not? And then all the rest of it around contracts, commercials. Do you know what? That's just a byproduct of, do you have a group of people who want to succeed?
Brilliant. Now, there's obviously a third party in this relationship, which is Google Cloud. And I'm sure the audience are interested, just dying to understand, John, what it was about Google that made you want to work with them as a technology partner, as obviously other capabilities are in the marketplace. So what was it about Google?
So about 18 months ago, I had breakfast with a guy called Zane Lackey, the founder of Signal Science. Mm-hmm. He's a general partner now at Andreessen Horowitz, who I spend a little bit of time with, which is great. So I had breakfast with this guy, and he said, John, I was just starting on my egg. John, tell me about your cloud strategy. So it was like, I've got a dual cloud strategy. That sounded quite good. I said, it's GCP for forward-facing, customer-facing, how we go to market, and it's the other cloud for going backwards down the supply chain, things like that. And he said to me, and this will remain with me for a long time, he said, John, that's not the daftest cloud strategy I've heard this week. So I took that as affirmation that we're probably doing something right.
Well, that's a good thing. Yeah. Dan, obviously, to put you in a position, but there are, obviously Deloitte are an independent organization, have the ability to work with best-of-breed partners or technology companies. What brings Google to the kind of forefront when you're looking at this kind of program of work with an organization like Gymshark?
What's interesting about that story is because I knew absolutely nothing about it, and I think quite sneakily you'd asked me the same question, which I actually only found out about as we were prepping for this session. So I'm pleased I said the same answer, as it could have been a different response. I think, look, Gymshark's growth with any company that's sort of 10-year-old, the growth is astronomical. And it's really important to put the foundations in right at the very beginning so that that growth can be enabled. And step one is, what is the cloud strategy that you're going to adopt? And in this case, there was a clear void in the sort of customer data. And Google own that space. I mean, they do. They're well known for it in the market. And that was sort of before, actually, even the Gen AI wave started. We were right back at the basics of how do I organize data? How do I emancipate my people in the organization to use that data properly? And my first response was a natural gut response. It wasn't based on lots of technology discussions. It was, this is probably the most obvious answer is this. Okay, so once it was established that was the obvious answer, John had validated it with 3, 4, 5 different people. It was actually then about getting the right people from both our organizations in a room and saying, okay, let's prove that's the obvious answer, and that's where we went from.
Okay, and I think when people in the room and those online listening embark on these sort of programs of work, there's always a big question about are we invested in the outcomes of our clients? Are we there with them? That term skin in the game. What does the investment look like from Deloitte and Google into the Gymshark relationship?
So I mean, from my personal perspective, I always split these things into two parts. One is, are you emotionally committed? Right? This is not a revenue problem. It's not a selling issue. It's, do you wake up in the morning and do I care about the career journey of Gymshark people, some of which are at the very beginning of their career, and how do I use the power of Deloitte, the insight, the training courses, the market connections we have to help individuals in their career journey? Am I best placed to do that? And then the second is, obviously, we are both commercial organizations. So what does a commercial grown-up relationship look like? And in that dimension, we started from you either know your stuff or you don't, right? So if Deloitte are going to come in and advise and say, you need to spend X amount of money to get Y amount of benefit, then absolutely we should take the risk that we got that answer right. And if you can't take the risk, then why you're sort of questioning your own judgment, if you like. So we went through a process of business case development, as you would imagine, that served to do a couple of things. One, to quantify numerically what benefits there would be. Importantly, to take the executive, or the chiefs, as they're called in Gymshark. It's quite funny telling Ben he's a chief, but there we go. And then, quite genuinely, with somebody like Ben, who is a product person, that's what he does. He's passionate about his products. Helping explain concepts like data to somebody who, why is that important, right? So we went through that journey and then ended up with a commercial relationship which basically says, either Gymshark are successful and we're all successful, or none of us are successful. It's as simple as that.
Fair enough. And John, just obviously put you on the spot here, but I assume you feel emotionally connected to, and those things that Dan says really do come to life.
They do. I mean, it genuinely, both parties have got skin in the game, and I think that just helps. Yeah. We spent a lot of time at the start figuring each other out to see if we liked each other. It sounds a kind of daft word, but if you don't like the people you're working with, then it's pretty difficult.
No, I think that's super important. Yeah. Okay, so let's try and bring this to light a little bit, or to bring something to life a little bit more. You've always been working on this engagement now for a while. We have been working for a while. And John, one of the things is, programs of work transformation start off with great energy levels across the organization. And then as you get into that run phase, that energy level kind of dips until you deliver something that really the rest of the business, the frontline workers feel is changing the way they operate. So can you just talk us through either a product that's been developed or an outcome as a result of this partnership that has really driven enthusiasm inside Gymshark for the overall program of work?
Yeah, it's a tricky program because what we're having to do is rebuild the data foundations of the company. So we've got a pretty desperate data stack, and we're completely redoing that. And that is taking time. All the while the business are going, when do I get AI? Well, you don't get it till we've done this heavy lifting. So we're in that kind of interesting phase where we're just starting to deliver on the data quality. We're making it easier for the business to access data. They're not on tech all the time for every 5 minutes to do X, Y, and Z. And we're getting confidence around the quality of data, its accessibility, and what we can do with it. So we're right in that kind of tipping point, actually.
Brilliant. And I'm delighted to hear, we'll come on later as to how, you're going to accelerate AI into Gymshark, because that's obviously of significant interest to me right now. We'll go through that. Dan, coming to you, when we undertake large programs of work, there's always the focus on what I call the sexy stuff, the front end, the change that happens. But there's always almost a operating model change or a behavioral change that needs to take place in an organization as well. And that sometimes is more important than the outcome, at the front end. What have you had to consider and adapt to, and kind of learnings of op model change as you've gone through this with Gymshark, and obviously a company that has a very strong identity as to how it wants to deliver things?
Yeah, I think what makes Gymshark really interesting organisation to work with is it's grown up from a garage, right? It's grown up by smashing lots of people together who are very entrepreneurial, who are very focused on doing stuff. And I can get on and I can do it. And you get to a certain scale and size, and that actually starts to become friction. It starts to become, actually, I'm now duplicating or replicating, or I'm not operating in a standard way. So the question really is, how do you put those controls in place while not losing the very spirit of what Gymshark is? And the starting point, for us is to realize that in any transformation in my professional career I've ever been on, it's never been the technology that's been the problem. It's always been people. It's always been an emotional journey for people to adopt and perhaps to change the way they work. And some people just don't like that and they don't want to do it. And we are in that very tricky phase now where we do need to put things like data controls and data standards right? No longer can you just dip in and change whatever you want to do your job, because that has an impact 3-4 layers down the stream. So it's going to be an interesting road, I think, actually, the next 6 months, actually, as people realize we're going to give a bit and we're going to take some of the freedom back a bit.
Interesting.
See where we get.
See how we go with that.
Yeah.
Well, look, John, all of this, everything we've talked about so far has been around kind of the how we're doing things and the why we're doing it. But at the end of the day, it's ultimately what does the experience look like for the Gymshark customer? So what changes have been delivered so far, and how would I, as a consumer of Gymshark, really notice that? Or if you're working in the frontline part of the organization, what can they do now that they couldn't do 6 months ago?
I think what the customer's starting to see is a much deeper personalization. So we're starting to target customers. I mean, back in the day, we were spray and pray. Everybody got the same thing. We are now, with segmentation models that we've built, we are now starting to personalize, and that personalization will get deeper and deeper as we understand better the data models that we're building, and they start to learn and whatever. So overall, it's got to be a better experience for the customer.
Okay, so personalization's kind of first and foremost what they're experiencing.
Yeah.
And do you look at personalization across different age brackets as well? Because obviously you've got very, very different buying styles depending on which generation you fall into. Yeah,
there's so many cuts across personalization, down to that individual, that we're looking at all facets.
Okay. I mean, I know that's so from a retail background, I know that kind of personalization is a bit of the holy grail, right? How do you give someone a customized offering for them and there? And I suppose that's ultimately where you're heading to.
I think as well, Alex, I just, one thing about Gymshark's growth is, it's moved much more from a direct B2C channel, which has all been online or mobile app, into, distribution, B2B models, into physical retail stores. Anybody who's taken the 10-hour flight from London may have been down on Regent Street. Fantastic floor space. How do you connect somebody's physical journey in a physical store to their digital life? And how do you extend the product range in a physical store to the same product range you can get online? These are the sorts of models that we now start to build so that the customer feels like the same customer, whether they're physically interacting or whether they're digitally interacting. And it's a hard thing to do. Anybody that's done big scale retail, there's a lot of people tried to do it. Gymshark are early enough in their journey that we can build that in right from the very beginning.
And I think that'll become a huge point of competitive differentiation, right, as you move forward. Dan, I don't want to put you on the spot, because I know it's always going to be difficult to share specifics, especially given we're in a room full of, but I think 400 or 500 trusted people and the odd 1,000 online. What's next for Gymshark in their technology evolution? What are Deloitte going to be doing to help there?
So I think I'm maybe surprised some of the people in the audience that say, actually, I'm quite a restraining force, actually, because Gymshark have got so many ideas. Actually, the question isn't ideas. The question is, what are the right things to do, and can they scale, and can they add value? And it's an organization that has to walk before it runs. And therefore, if we, in the context of, AI, Gen AI, have to get your data sorted out first, right? And then you have to sort of think, okay, how do I use things like Vertex? How do I use language models to change the operating model of the organization? Because we can all do point proof of concepts, proof of value, whatever you want to call it. How do you take that, scale it into the organization so the organization goes, do you know what? I'm now going to change the way I work to adopt to the technology, not deliver technology to support the way I work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you mentioned the fabled words, AI. I think we've got kind of 25 minutes into a speak, and we haven't really talked about it, so I feel I have to now raise this. So we couldn't talk about the future without talking about AI. It's here, it's present, people are doing it, and we're seeing many organizations take it into production. John, what are the ambitions for you at Gymshark when you look at AI as a technology, and how are you getting on with deploying it into the organization right now?
Not as quickly as my business would like, I would say. Listen, the opportunities we all know with AI, reach for the sky. I get about 30 emails a day from companies, startups to big companies that want to help me exploit AI. But it's all predicated on doing exactly what we're doing now, which is building the data foundations. Because Dan's just said, you can put a bit of AI on, that's very technical, bit of AI on a data set, but it's not transferable. You can't do anything other than the thing that you've thought about. And there's a whole set of constraints around that. I genuinely believe if we get this right, and we will get this right, AI will then be a key differentiator for us.
And are you finding, I think this is something we're all interested in, are you finding a push for AI, not just from, you said your boss wants it in more quickly, but actually it's obviously pervasive across lots of different tools through lots of different platforms right now. Do you find there's now a calling for it, from the organization into your part of the business, say, when are we going to have these tools?
Yes, because the business are being bombarded with, you can do this, you can do this. AI will help you. AI will mean you never have to enter another sales order. It will, it can do anything. And sometimes we in tech just have to put the little hand up and say, just wait a minute. I mean, we are, we're building the foundations. We're in the big data age, to be perfectly honest. We're going to come out of it quickly, but that's the phase of growth that we're in at the moment.
I'd say you've got to go slow to go quick. Gymshark's, we now have to put the foundations in. What's interesting about companies of Gymshark size is they won't need to retrofit sometimes decade-old processes to fit new technology. They can build an operating model that's around it. And I was going to say to you, Alex, we've known each other for quite a while now. Some of your biggest clients back in the UK are big retailers who have been around hundreds of years. It'd be just nice to hear, what's the Google reflection on how do you adopt AI in a company that has had its operating model relatively static for quite a long time?
I thought I was the one asking the questions. So look, I think there's a really interesting thing. I think right now, the first thing you said was about people. So the most important part about any AI implementation is that we keep humans in the loop, right? That's where the intelligence sits in any organization. I think in retailers, there's two things that have really interested me. One, they are forecasted to spend more on AI than any other business segment. I think in this year, I think it's north of $360 billion will go on AI in retail alone, because there are some really core capabilities that I think that we've been struggling with as an industry to attack for quite a while. And if I was to kind of label those, I think the first one, and we saw it at the demos in the main keynote, is around search. Right. So how do we take the sentiment that people are feeling or the emotion that they're looking at and turn that as a search string into finding the right piece of clothing for them that meets their needs? There's no doubt that customer service is going to be changed, I think, forever, with the advent of intelligent bots that you can then train on a customer's or on a company's corpus of information, and not just do it real time, but across a platform with images or sound, the whole multimodal experience. There was a great stat actually a while ago that talked about 67% of people now would rather interface with the system, not necessarily another human, which I think is quite interesting. So we're all getting more antisocial. And then the final one is really around what I would call conversational commerce. So the ability to drive that sale from within a chat window. And I know that that's something that you're experimenting with. Yeah. So how do you go onto a website, ask, rather than search and browse in your own traditional way, it's to engage in a conversation with an agent, check out from within that space, and then provide delivery information, all just to make it as frictionless as possible. Mm-hmm. I think they're the things that are that retailers are doing quickly. I think our announcement today around Agent Builder within the Google portfolio is going to help accelerate that massively. So we've seen lots of pioneering organizations that have built capabilities, be it customer service, be it chat agents, be it fast food ordering, and taking those frameworks now, so organizations that maybe don't have the deep technical engineering that Gymshark does, or maybe they're trying to go lighter but faster, can build more things out the box more quickly. Okay. Can I go back to asking the questions now?
Yeah.
Right. Look, so I'm going to fire it back at you, Dan. So look, we're coming. There's obviously a huge amount going on, and some of that becomes day to day in and out of running a program of work. But what are you most excited about in the coming months? What's going to really be the thing that changes the game?
I think John mentioned the starting point. So we've spent 9, 10 months sorting out the data, right? And it all starts with the data, building out the technical platforms, the pipelines, the integration, everything else. I think the next few months for us really is proof is in the pudding, isn't it? I mean, the models are built, tested.
Whether you lot get paid or not.
Yeah, basically, whether I get paid or not is going to be the really interesting point. So thanks for that. But, you know, we wrote a business case a year and a bit ago. It was a 4-page document. And it said, if you do this, you will get that. Well, we've done all the foundation. The models are built. They go live in support of the summer season coming up. And we'll measure it. Did we do the job we said we would do? Did we get it right?
I think it's always good to have clarity on whether you're, and a binary metric one way or the other.
Yeah. So please, everybody, get onto Gymshark.com and get buying.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. We might have something for you there. Before we move on to the last question, actually, I had a couple of something I wanted to talk about. So we've talked a lot at the start about a program of work that is underway already. But one of the big questions, if you think about people that are here and people dialing in, they're interested to understand how you get started, right? The first step is always the most difficult. So what advice would you give to an organization that was looking to embark on a transformation program? And what does that first step actually look like? John, I'm going to come to you first on that one.
Yeah, I think it's, I spoke earlier a bit about it. It's doing the dance with the partners and making sure that you like each other and that you're going to be able to work together. But once you've figured that out, it's really, it's get started. Mobilize and get started and get some, this is a cricket analogy, get some runs on the board. I guess it's a baseball analogy as well.
Probably, yeah.
You get runs on the board.
And I'm not certain 3 English guys should be trying to do a baseball analogy, but anyway.
Yeah, it is odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is pick your partners, understand what you're doing, and get started.
Yeah. Fine. I think my take, I think you've got to be really clear on what you're trying to achieve, right? So the partnership we have as a 3-way organization, it is genuinely, that word is often overused, right? But it is genuinely, what does success look like? Success is doing all the data foundations, it is building models. But if we walk out the building and the data team don't know how to use it, persist it, and maintain it. To be frank, if Deloitte can't leave, that's not success, right? So I spend as much time worrying about is the technical platform going to go live, and is the services, is it secure, is it scalable, as I worry about is Gymshark building a culture and a team to get the benefit out of this? If not, okay, what's our apprenticeship program? What's our training program? How do I take people from Birmingham and connect them into the market so they can learn from others and bring that learning back? That's what I worry about. I worry about succession planning. I worry about, because that means that what we've built is adoptable, scalable, transferable in the long term.
Okay. And John, I'll finish on one more question before I ask you your last one. Training, we do these programs of work and actually enabling the ultimate users of this, whether they're the frontline workers, whether it's people in your core team or the wider business. Training is always something that sometimes is overlooked. Now, I remember in the research for this, listening to Ben talk about the fact that he went to university and did a degree in there, did a course on computing, and then went home and built 4 apps and various things. It must be delightful to have someone technically as your boss as well. Lovely. Talk to us a little bit about...
Why can't I not?
Yes. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about how you're approaching kind of staff training, enablement to make sure you kind of retain core talent, but also is it a mechanism to attract people into Gymshark?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting at the start of the program was, and we were getting resistance because we had a data stack that people liked, they used, but it just, getting over to both tech and the business, it wasn't scalable, was quite a challenge actually. And really talking to them about, we're going to move onto this Google platform and you're going to be building skills for life here. This is where people are building now. Google, not for nothing, have 2/3 of the IP of all AI in the world. This is where you need to be working. And I think the message is getting over both on the business and on the tech side. that these are good skills to train in, and these are life skills. And actually, we're training people to stay with us, but we're also training people to go elsewhere and be successful.
I think it's a good point, John, actually, because when we first started this, what we had was we had a team in the middle who had access to all this data, some of it inconsistent in many different systems that had grown up for 10 years, right?
It's amazing, sorry, Dan, it's amazing how much legacy you can build in 12 years in a 12-year-old company. Yeah.
That's right. And then you had this team, and what would happen is the business would say, I want the answer to this question. But the tools that they've got are just viewing windows of poorly constructed data with various quality and various stitching together. So you'd have this team in the middle, and all they'd spend their time doing is trying to answer the question of the business. And the answer was, they're the data science team. No, they're not. They're a data query team. And that's not scalable as the organization scales. So part of this is about putting the data in straight lines so that you can emancipate the insight in that data into the business and give the business the tools to ask their own questions. So that data science team can do what it was always intended to do. And that is evolve the data platforms of Gymshark into intelligence, into automation, into Gen AI eventually. And that's, we're 10 months into a journey that's probably a 2 to 3 year journey, actually, to get to that level of maturity point.
Yeah. I've been talking about self-serve data for 30 years.
When I was in nappies.
Yes. This is the closest I've ever got to self-serve. And we'll deliver it this time. If it kills me, which it probably will.
Well, that's good to know. Well, look, John, I put Dan on the spot earlier about what was coming next, but we're here, we've got a captive audience. I'm sure they'd love to hear what's next for Gymshark, and how are you putting kind of all this transformational work to good use, whether that's new markets, whether it's new lines, anything you can tell us that's a little bit kind of behind closed doors, a bit of a secret.
I think most of this is public, otherwise we'll have to cut it out.
Excellent, keep going, this is great.
So we've got our first store in Regent Street in London, our flagship. If you're ever in London, you must go and see it. Our second one is coming in London in the summer at Westfield Mall in Stratford. Big news is we have a space in New York for our first New York flagship. We're super excited about that.
Awesome.
I don't think I can give the address out on that, but it's on Broadway somewhere.
Brilliant.
And then wholesale, we're dipping our toe into wholesale for the first time. So we've gone live in Selfridges in London, and we've got some partnerships coming up in the Middle East. And wrapping around that, we continue to drive our direct-to-consumer channel harder and harder. And I was going to announce some good news, wasn't I? And because you've all come along to watch, can't understand why, but you've all come along to watch, I thought I should reward you. So there is a code on the website, John20, capital JOHN 20. If you go on there, for the duration of Next, you'll get 20% off whatever you buy. So
fabulous.
Please go and do some shopping. That would be cool. Keep me in a good job for a little while longer.
Or if it goes really bad, maybe Ben will have a word if we go viral. Well, listen, Dan, John, thank you very much for sharing your insights and helping to bring this story to life. On behalf of the audience, I guess thank you for the discount code. That's obviously going to go down well. That brings us to a close for this session. If you want inspiration as to where to go next on your Google Cloud Next journey, there are some options for you to follow on from there. And if you'd like to understand more about the Gymshark and Google and Deloitte relationship, please feel free to join the team at the Expo Hall, which is in booth 1010. Other than that, John, Dan, thank you very much again for your time.
Alex.
And have a fabulous Next, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.